Alan Sue Hicks here today. We're Easy Fit Saddles. We're going to do a video on our Equine 3D Back Profiling System. It's a system where you can measure your horse's back and send us the information. We can build a custom tree for that horse. So to start with, we want to identify some landmarks on the horse's back. This girl's been marked up already, but anyways, we want to find the back of the scapula. Find that by running your hand up over that area. You can feel it fall off at the back of the scapula. So it's right there, right in that red mark. Base of the withers, we want to find the transition from the flat of the back to the angle of the wither. That starts at the back of the scapula. And we need to put a mark there. The last rib, we can pick up the last rib, we can see it right there, and we can gently follow it up. And it goes at a fair angle up and disappears under muscling and comes up at the back of the wither, or the backbone right there. So those are our landmark areas. On top of that, we want to put our grid system. It looks like a spacer card, but it starts by putting that end of the card right up against that red mark, and then making marks every 2 inches on the horse's back. On this horse, we get up to number 9. Then we want to find a card that fits best on this horse in those areas, each one of those areas. So we'll start off with the number 5 card on her, and I can see it's a little bit tight at the bottom, loose at the top. So we want to go a bit bigger. Number 6, and that seems to fix that. It's even front to back, top to bottom, I should say. And then we'll try one bigger, 7, and I can see it's off of the horse just a bit on the bottom. So number 6 is this card we want in this number 1 area. Go through that same process in all 9 areas on the horse's back, and put me those numbers, those angles off the cards in each of those positions. Next thing we do is we want to find the rock. So finding the rock, we want to use these ticks on our profile cards to make an offset. Those go on the horse's back. Get the bigger one here. Make sure we find the center mark and get it in alignment with the spine. And there's our offset. And then we want to find the same thing in the back. Get your card centered over the spine. Make a tick on that mark. And then we want to find a rock card that fits into that area best. So 2 is our most common size. We'll take and put that B mark on this rock card in line with the red mark at the back of the withers. Put those 2 in alignment and make sure it's on that tick, offset tick. And it's perpendicular to the horse's back, not to the ground, but to the horse's back. So I can see I've got a bit of movement there, so I want to go to a 1, try that. And there we go. 1 fits her nicely. Now we want to measure from the front, or to the B mark to the front. And she's about 8.5 in the front. And she's about 8.5 in the back. So it's a R1 card, 8.5 to the front, 8.5 to the back. And that'll give us our measurements. We can put together a complete picture of your horse's back. Here's what it looks like. Set into a So the other thing that you want to do when you're measuring your horse is look for pockets. If we have big pockets in behind the scapula is going, and the saddle tree sits down inside that. We build the tree to sit inside that. The scapula is going to rotate into the back of it and make a interference with her movement. So we want to make sure that if we have pockets, that we allow for that, the shimming to take place. The other thing is that most horses are asymmetrical. So if we get up in the horse, stand on a stool behind the horse, if she'll behave herself here, I can look down over the rump and I can see that she's got a smaller shoulder on the right hand side than she does on the left hand side. And take a photo of that. In midday sun, it's hard to make out those shadows, but if you get in the odd light, morning or evening, it's easier to see those shadows and see those changes, or those pockets or asymmetries. Next thing, we want to get over top of the horse and find the back of those scapulas. Put my finger, I can see that this one's right here in the red mark. I'll find the one on the other side, run my finger down until it falls off, and I can see that she's rotated ahead about an inch, inch and a half on this side, on the far side, the right side. Most horses are smaller on the right than the left. So we can help compensate for that by just lifting that measurement up on the front to allow for a little bit of shimming to go on there. But as long as we make note and take pictures of that shimming or that asymmetry, it helps us to build a proper saddle tree. So there's lots of different ways you can get these measurements to us. You don't have to have our kit. There's a flexi curve you can buy from most stationary stores. Piece of wire you can get from your hardware store. A measuring device that the English people use. Those all work. A Wintec gauge. That works too if I got the same one here, or we can get the measurements off that. Anyways, if you can give us that, we can transfer that to our system and make it work. And then we need to couple that, take a tape measure, 1 inch far back off the back of the scapula, and then 2 inches, every 2 inches off that, make marks. Take your wire or whatever you have in those areas, transfers those to a piece of cardboard, piece of paper, send me those. And then again for the rock, we want to say 4 inches off of the spine. Just give me the measurement that you use, and then get the wire to sit down in that mark in those areas. It takes a little bit of playing to get a piece of wire to retain its shape, but take your time and you can work at it, play with that, transfer that to a piece of paper, and then we can again build a tree. You have to be a little more precise, a little more persistent to use these devices than our system, but they can work.